As couples Nora and Alec drive to the countryside, they find themselves on an unfamiliar route. Nora is getting more and more irritated by the fact that they are disoriented. Soon after, they visit a closed-down restaurant. Nora excuses herself to search for a restroom because she needs to urinate in one. She finds herself at the facility's rear where she discovers the ruins of a camp with a few valuables like a pocketbook and a phone. She throws them back, though, and goes about her business without realizing that a human skull is close. They unwittingly drive past a stack of human skeletons as they depart. Alec is less interested when Nora tells him about the abandoned campsite in the car because he is more worried that they will shortly run out of gas. They keep going until they come across a lady driving a damaged vehicle. She takes Alec's offer to use his jumper cables to assist her. She queries Nora as to why Alec hasn't wed her while he works on fixing the car. Nora is taken aback by this, so she informs her it's none of her business. This offends the lady, who responds by calling Nora and others like her privileged and irresponsible. The woman responds that she never asked for assistance, while Nora reminds her that they are there to assist her. Alec is informed by Nora that they must leave without fixing the woman's vehicle because of this. Nora grumbles as they leave about Alec stepping in to save the grumpy woman's day. His girlfriend points out that she avoids the country to avoid individuals like her, but he responds that he was just being nice. Later on, they reach a diner and decide to catch a bite. Alec notices that a strange guy continues staring at them from the end of the aisle after they have finished their meaty burgers. Nora tells him that he is probably just interested in visitors, though. The strange man abruptly grabs Nora's arm and cautions her that she is not safe in the town as they prepare to leave. The man releases his hold when Alec steps in, and the pair walks away. Alec asks Nora if she's all right in the car, and she replies that it wasn't a huge deal. They arrive at a gas station shortly after, where Alec asks the cashier if there are any lodgings nearby. They head back to their car after the cashier informs them about a cabin just down the road, but the clerk keeps an eye on them as they walk away. Nora makes a note that she wishes to visit the location before deciding to stay there as they travel to it. Alec, however, is adamant about stopping rather than risking an accident while traveling in the middle of the night. When they arrive at the cabin, Alec notices that there are a lot of parked vehicles there, so he assumes that there are other people inside. Nora begs Alec if they can leave the cabin after becoming uneasy inside. He tells her, though, that based on the used plates on the table, people have indeed been there. They search the area but can't locate anyone to assist them with check-in, so they ascend. They are surprised to be greeted by the landlord, who has a deformed visage. He offers his apologies for not hearing them before inquiring as to their origin. Alec responds that they came from Los Angeles. The owner then shows them to their cabin, which is separate from the others. He explains that the bunk beds are from when Boy Scout troops or church groups used to hire the space. He converted the cabins into motels because their regular guests hadn't signed in recently. When Alec casually inquires about his tenure, the guy replies that he has been the landlord since 1989. He begins talking incoherently about leaving everything behind when he accidentally came across the location and fell in love with it. He requested for a job there right away to fix up the cabins. It was formerly owned by Mrs. Anderson, who passed away 4 years ago and left the hotel to him. Nora interrupts the conversation and declares that they need a pause because she is sick of the casual banter. Offended, the landlord noisily closes the door as he departs. Alec challenges Nora about her impolite behavior, but she responds that the man's appearance disgusts her. The pair is talking, and they don't see the bloodstain on the other bed. They get ready for bed that evening and go to slumber peacefully, not realizing the figure that is hiding under their bed. The figure emerges from the bed in the morning, showing himself to be a man wearing a sheep mask. He leans in and stands over the sleeping pair. Nora later awakens in a prison. She tries to free herself, but a second man wearing a goat mask arrives and beats her cage to silence her. He then suddenly departs after this. Nora seizes the chance to take a nearby stone and use it to open the latch. The guy then comes back with a second man wearing a cow mask, who pours a liquid substance over Nora and knocks her out. She soon finds herself bound to a chair with her legs splayed wide in a barn. A rabbit-masked veterinarian suddenly bursts into the stable and forces something between her legs. Nora is sterilized by the lady like a piece of livestock, and she is powerless but to scream. Despite Nora's cries and screams, the veterinarian merely exits. She becomes weaker during the procedure, and she is unable to resist when 2 masked men enter the stable to take her. The man in the cow disguise pulls Nora back into a cage and onto a wagon. She observes that these individuals wearing animal masks are a large community, with each member having a specific job. While others are butchering people, others are cleaning and constructing homes. The wagon stops shortly after, and the man in the cow disguise throws Nora into a stable. As soon as she is by herself, she tries to pry open the window but is unsuccessful. The males are kept in tiny cages while the women are imprisoned in stables. A muzzle is even in Alec's mouth as he regrettably experiences the same destiny. and 3 masked guys suddenly walk into the stables. They use a control pole to hold one captive guy in place before using a hammer to strike him in the head. They then perform the same action on a second prisoner. Alec pauses as he observes this, but he soon breaks out in hysterics as he shakes in terror. The men move closer to his cage as a result and make an effort to seize him using the control rod. Alec struggles back and attempts to flee, but the other man uses a hammer to knock him out. Alec and the other unconscious prisoners are loaded onto the wagon by the soldiers. The guy in the pig mask transports them to the slaughterhouse and then walks around their small, close-knit community carrying a bag of human limbs. He waves at the driver of a nearby vehicle as it approaches before putting the bag away in an office. The driver is then assisted by him as he carries a fresh prisoner into the stables. Later, the landlord, who serves as the town's ringleader, is where the man in the pig mask greets him. The landlord remarks that they have a request to serve 80 people, so he inquires as to whether the food will be prepared. The landlord is aware of the guy in the pig mask's silence and his mute responses. The employees grind some meat for the lasagna and prepare stew as the angry landlord storms into the kitchen and orders the food ready in 2.5 hours. He learns the client will be collecting up the food early, though, as he answers a call from the client. He explains to the guy wearing the pig mask that they must make up the difference by using their dairy animals. Several lactating women are placed in cages with suction tubes on their bosoms in a different stable. When everything is safe, Andrew, the gas station clerk, enters the stables and makes an effort to console the grieving mother. The childish man becomes enraged when the woman curses at him and accuses the women of being evil people. A customer complains to the landlord that a tooth they discovered in their meal caused their wedding to be ruined. When someone calls the man in the pig mask for an urgent issue, he assures them that they will be compensated before cutting off the conversation. When the landlord visits the stables, he finds that one of the ladies has passed away. The landlord immediately orders his men to locate Andrew after they notice his name is carved on the wood that was stabbed into the woman's breast. In the meantime, Nora encounters the 2-year-old captive who has been held there next to her booth. She claims that all of the prisoners are handled like farm animals and that she was so heavily pregnant that she is no longer able to become pregnant. She's already dying at this time, but she's more relieved than upset. Nora becomes anxious when the lady informs her that there is no way out. She is startled to hear another lady sobbing from another cell. The woman's name is Ashley, and she's been kept captive for 2 weeks. Ashley is reassured by Nora that they will make it out together. When one of the landlord's men discovers Andrew, he is playing with some severed human heads elsewhere. He protests that the lady was cruel while crying, but the man drags him out anyway. Soon after, the owner chastises him for squandering their money. He must assist the farm workers in feeding the prisoners as a form of discipline. He unintentionally tips the food-filled bucket, but he quickly flees to escape any repercussions. When the guy wearing the pig mask searches for him, he discovers him leaving the greenhouse running. The landlord is grateful for Andrew's consideration as he hurries to the kitchen and gives him some oregano. The landlord chooses to look after Andrew and orders the man in the pig mask to get rid of the lactose-intolerant woman. Men enter the stall next to Nora in the stables and tie the other lady up. As he slices open her sides and dumps her intestines into a bucket, the man in the pig disguise slaughters the woman in front of Nora. Nora collapses to the ground, horrified and hardly able to comprehend what is occurring. The stables become quiet as the guys eventually depart. The door shakes abruptly, and Nora cowers in terror. She is pleased, though, to see Alec, who instructs her to flee with him. The two steer clear of the farmhands as they exit the barns. They quickly come across a vehicle, but it won't start. Nora helps the injured Alec hide after she attempts to start the car but is stopped by a farmhand. They move around the car and notice the farmhand standing just a few feet away. Fortunately, a distant bell sounds, and the man dashes off. They continue their escape and discover a church. Nora brings Alec inside the church, believing it to be secure, where they discover plastic-wrapped seats. Alec sees the mural on the wall depicting what appears to be Jesus and his disciples, but their faces are covered in animal masks, while Nora searches the altar and discovers a sharp object. They hide just before the cow-masked man enters after Alec sees him from the window. Nora notices the guy sitting in front praying and decides to leave while he is preoccupied. The floorboard squeaks during their effort, and the man rings the church bells to warn the others. Alec is trapped in a bear trap while the couple is making a desperate attempt to flee. Nora attempts to assist him, but she is forced to defend herself as the farmhands draw near. Just then, the farmhands band together, carry a sizable rock, and hurl it at Alec's cranium. Nora proceeds to flee while sobbing as she hears the sharp sound of his skull being crushed. Just before Andrew and the owner arrive, she finds refuge in the male stables. Nora questions one of the captured men about how to get out of the location as they explore the other end of the stable. The man informs her that the farmhands have a working bus that they use to convey their victims. Nora thanks him and leaves after he also informs her where the keys are. But just as she starts to flee, Andrew turns, and he and the landlord just smile. Nora makes every effort to remain hidden as she makes her way to the location of the keys. Just then, she walks by a gas station and sees a man in a mask leaving in a vehicle. She pursues the vehicle and arrives in a parking area. She takes a hammer from the place and kills the disguised guy. Nora rushes into the car and tries to flee, but a farmhand emerges out of nowhere. She initially has trouble getting the vehicle to start, but she eventually succeeds. Nora's face is smeared with a broad smile as she eventually makes her getaway. The engine fails at that precise moment, leaving her with no option but to exit the vehicle and take off running. Nora flees into the kitchen and the cellar as the farmhands pursue her. She attempts to leave through a window after spotting one there. The farmhands try to reach her through the pipelines but are unable to corner her. When Nora eventually opens the window, a man grabs her ankle as she exits. He is stabbed with the sharp object she took from the church, enabling her to flee. As soon as she steps outside, she recognizes the bus the guy mentioned. Since Ashley is nearby the stables, Nora makes the decision to go get her. Although Ashley is hesitant to accompany her, she does so anyway. They quickly run to the neighboring house to get the keys after realizing they don't have them as they board the bus. They quickly return to the bus after Nora finds the keys. Knowing that they are now free, she turns on the motor and beams. But she notices that Ashley has become reticent. To their dismay, they discover that every farmhand on the bus is seated at the end and is looking directly at them. The two ladies served with apples at the dinner table are soon joined by the group of people wearing masks.